the second half.
Here comes Gooden gonna score the 2 and 1.
Full drive inside. Stop. Hang on a pivot. Turn around jump shot is good.
Jordan Battle with a nice spin move. Kicks it down low. Vardon's Big Maple with the finish.
What's up, everybody? Another episode of the Straight Outta Whack podcast. I am on the road this weekend. My guest here was on the road last weekend, so it kind of worked out. GCU head coach Bryce Drew. I appreciate the time that you're taking today.
Well, thank you. No, we're all busy. Seems like summers are busier than during the season sometimes. And, been on the road recruiting, so it's nice to be back in the office, be back with our team, be able to work out later today.
I have to say, the best part about my weekend here in Pennsylvania is the Cubs just swept the Phillies in a 3-game set. We're both Cubs fans, so I thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, Bryce, I want to talk to you about your off season. I know that the 2021-22 season didn't really end the way you wanted it to. You were right there with New Mexico State in that semifinal game. That dunk by Chance McMillian. What was that? With under a minute left, it kind of, I don't know if it gave you guys a lead or tied the game up. One of the two, I can't remember, because I was sitting there just in awe of how high he got up on that dunk. Do you see that in practice with that guy?
He's done a great job increasing his athleticism, especially in the weight room with our strength coach. So I think he's actually jumping better now than he did then. So, but yeah, he definitely has something that you and I never had, the ability to get way above the rim and be able to finish.
So true. We'll get to him in just a minute. But, year one, year two, what'd you learn within the conference, within your team? Obviously the first year you were there, you guys were able to win the WAC, go to the NCAA tournament. The second year, it was still really a solid year, and you were right there again on the cusp. But, what'd you learn from year one and year two?
Yeah, we got to get a new conference, basically, with all the new additions. We jumped from around the 23rd, 24th best conference in the country to the 14th, 13th best conference in the country. So, the competition got significantly better in year two across the board. And, we had a great non-conference season. We went into conference and we started, I think we were at a net 57 or 59 after the first week of conference. And then we had some injuries. We had some COVID, kind of put us in a little spin cycle and, regained, played really good basketball at the end. And, unfortunately, we just couldn't, get past New Mexico State in that conference semifinal.
You talked about that COVID. It was that kind of weird road trip for you in New Mexico State when you went to East Texas. Take us through that a little bit, because you came back for the second game, I believe, right?
Yes, I cleared protocols, was able to make the second game. So difficult stretch, though. Obviously not being with the team, preparing. I literally showed up literally as they were arriving at the gym to get ready for the game. Missed shoot around and everything. So tough on them, tough on me. But I was just happy to be there and happy to coach, and unfortunately lost, in the final seconds of that game, had a chance to tie or win at the end. And so, I think a lot of our guys gained a lot of experience this year, especially traveling to different, places and different teams that we haven't played in the past. And, hopefully this year we'll use that experience to our benefit.
I have to ask this. What were your thoughts when you saw that both you and New Mexico State lost on the same day? And both places were called Johnson Coliseum, and you both lost by the same amount. I'm not going to go into the amount because I'm pretty sure that's one you don't want to remember, but how crazy is that happened on the same exact day?
Yeah, definitely. You probably couldn't write that before the year, or if you could have called that, they'd have thought maybe you're a genius. But I think it was a good learning experience for both teams. I think both grew from it, got better from it, and it just shows how difficult it is to win, on the road, in the league. And both of us, really struggled, on that road trip.
I want to ask you, I put out an article today as part of our Lopes Up week as we get, into this 2022-23 season preview for both you and the women's team. about the atmosphere at GCU and how it's one of the best in the WAC and maybe up there in the top 15, 20 in the country. You've played at Valpo. You've coached in the SEC. I mean, what's your take on that? Like, from what you've seen and been around throughout your career as a player and a coach, now that you get it to be fully filled, I guess, after the first year, which wasn't, but now you're back to full capacity. I mean, what do you say about the GCU atmosphere and GCU arena?
I agree with everything you said except 10 to 15. I think we're the best in the country. If you take beginning of the year through the end, I think we're the best in the country. You can make an argument for Duke, you can make an argument for Kansas, but pretty much outside of that, I don't know if there's too many other places you can make an argument for that they even compare, to what we have here. The student involvement is incredible, and the energy level, from our exhibition game, from our Midnight Madness, through our non-conference games, through our conference games. Again, it's second to none in the country. And I tell people that all the time. And so if you haven't experienced it, it's worth the trip to come down and to be in our environment. After you leave it, it'll be hard to go to another college basketball game because it's so fun.
I 100% agree with you. That's why I tend to catch a GCU game every year at least. Was there for 2 last year. The night you guys beat Seattle, knocked them from the unbeaten ranks in WAC play, and then the CBU game, which was, and you probably saw the same thing. It was pretty ugly offensive game that night on that Saturday night.
It was.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it was definitely ugly. As a coach, you don't mind ugly, clean, whatever, as long as you win at the end. And thankfully, we were able to be on that end of it. But, I think that goes in. It was, in the middle of the conference season. Teams know each other really well. The stakes get higher, as the conference season goes on. So it was really just 2 teams that were really well prepared. And some of that, I think, made the other team, their offense not look as good.
True. I remember we had to stand because I was sitting courtside that night due to a WAC Hoops Digest fan, saying that he had a ticket for me instead of being him. So I was a fan of that game. I think the GCU fans had to stand for almost 7 or 8 minutes before the first basket was made. So good time.
Yeah, we had to talk about that. We can't be making our fans stand that long for looking for a basket, but they got to be standing because we're making so many. But it's hard, as a coach, you feel it. You're looking out and you're like, man, can we just get a point so everyone can sit down? But again, that's part of the reason makes our play so special is they were just as loud at the 20-minute mark as they were at the 15-minute mark, for us to be able to score.
So true. Bryce, I want to ask you, before we get to your team a little bit, I want to ask you about the schedule. You get to play in that part of the Hall of Fame Classic with Northern Iowa, Wichita State. You get to play North Texas in the Jerry Colangelo Classic, their Conference USA regular season champs from last year. We have this resume seeding system. How has that kind of played into the schedule this year and maybe playing a few more games away from GCU Arena than you're used to in the non-conference in your first 2 years?
Yeah, this is definitely the toughest schedule we've had, since we came here. It might be the toughest that GCU's ever had. We have a lot of really good teams, the ones that you mentioned, really good programs. And so, we really wanted to challenge our guys in the non-conference season. And we think we put together a schedule that'll give us a variety of styles that we'll face, different venues, and really good teams. So it's going to be challenging, but also hopefully it's going to really prepare us for league.
How do you feel about that new seating system and maybe the vision for it, I guess, going forward?
Every year, it might change depending on what your seed is. Right now, I really like it. I like the innovativeness of the league to come up with it. And, as you look, we're not a balanced league as far as our conference schedule is concerned. At the end of the day, someone gets an easier road than somebody else. And then at the end of the day, that could result in a higher seed, which gives them a better chance to go to the NCAA tournament. So, I like this because it's impossible to make a perfect schedule when you have, teams that are playing someone twice and someone just once. And so this helps balance some of that out.
Let's talk about, your point guard, Jovan Blacksher Jr. coming back again. The first year you're here, he didn't really have to score a lot with the big guys that you had. And last year, he increased that scoring average by quite a significant amount next to Holland Woods. What are you expecting from your point guard this year? And what is it going to be just a mix of both on the floor?
Yeah, I think Jovan really improved last year, and I thought he had some tremendous stretches during the season. There were times, we thought he got a little bit tired, and some of that's, we just relied on him to score so much. We really tried in the recruiting process to bring in some more scoring that could help take some of that pressure off of him. And, we feel like we've done that. And so, we look for Jovan to continue his development, take another step up, in this year for us. But hopefully we won't rely on him to score day in, night out, like we did last year.
You talked about bringing in scoring. You bring in Rayshon Harrison from Presbyterian, who averaged around 17 points a game. I've seen some photos in the offseason from, practice and stuff. What's going to be you had Holland Woods last year who could light it up on any given night. What's maybe the difference between those two in terms of maybe the way they play that people will see this year from Rayshon Harrison?
Yeah, Holland was a smaller guard, had great vision, with tough shot maker, had really a lot of creativity. Rayshon's a lot different, just profile. He's 6'4", about 195 pounds, and uses his strength really well. He can play with contact. He can finish at the rim, and defensively, he defends multiple positions. So, they're both really good players, but they're their own player. They're different in what they do well.
From what I've seen, is Rayshon kind of a mix between a Holland Woods with his shooting ability and maybe a Sean Miller Moore's crazy athleticism? It just seemed like that's what I saw in some of those photos.
I don't know about the Sean Miller Moore. I mean, he was pretty. I don't know if I want to put anyone in our team in that category. Athletically. But I think one of the big things we like about Rayshon is just he's a really cerebral basketball player. Like he's unselfish, even though he's a natural scorer. He's really unselfish. He sees the open man, hits him at the right time. And again, what we love is his versatility. He can play 1 through 3 very comfortably, and just brings a lot of different positives to our team.
You bring in 3 other Division I transfers: Noah Bauman, Logan Landers. Where's the other one? I had the other one here. I didn't write him down.
Josh
Baker from UNLV. And he's returning home just like Noah Bauman is. Like, what do you see these guys bringing? Every year Division I transfers come to the WAC, but what do you see that sets these guys maybe apart from last year's transfers that you brought in?
We like the guys we brought in last year, and we like the guys that are coming in this year. I think when you come back home, there's a little extra energy to you. When you come in the gym, you're going to be around your family and friends more. They're going to be more involved. They're going to be watching you more. And so ultimately, I think you want to perform better. So I think Noah and Josh have had tremendous summers. They look very relaxed being home, very excited, to be able to play in front of their family and friends and be at GCU. And, I think a couple of things we look for in the whole class as a general was we wanted to bring in, more length and more shooting. And we really feel like with the transfers that we added those things.
I know everybody goes through the transfer portal to get guys and bring them in. What do you, is there – how does that – I don't want to say it benefits GCU because it benefits everybody in a sense, but, like, you've had success. First year you bring in Ash. Last year, you bring in Holland Woods, Tayshaun Cherry. I mean, how does it equate to success when you bring in a transfer? Is it on them to to bring it in, or is it on the coach to say, you know what, this is what we want to do, or is it going to be a good fit? Is it kind of both?
Definitely both. And I know time goes so fast, but this was really the first transfer class that we got to go through a regular recruiting process where we were able to have them on visits. We were able to meet face to face with them and talk and really do due diligence, on a lot of things. And so, it was a lot of work this spring, but our coaching staff really enjoyed it to be able to build those relationships with these guys. And we really feel like we got tremendous fits, for our program and our university. And so, to answer your question, it's kind of all of the above. We look at a lot of different things, and at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing was us being able to just meet with everybody, either go see them or go see them and them come here. Just really made a big difference.
I want to ask you too about like the schedule. We'll get back to the roster in just a second, but as part of this transfer discussion, how do you put a schedule together if, say, you don't know who you're bringing in? Do you just schedule games to schedule them, or do you schedule around who you know is going to be on your roster for the season you're trying to schedule games for?
Both. I think scheduling was kind of fluid this whole spring and summer. We're just wrapping up our schedule now. We were holding out, trying to get some high caliber games for our guys. And, I think, a lot of people came either in the transfer market or, came back to school, with the desire to play, more of a beefed up schedule. And so, that's what we tried to do in this off season. And we're definitely going to have, a lot of really good competition, as we announce our schedule here, in the next probably few weeks.
Let's talk about, you mentioned the word beef. I want to talk about I don't know if that's the right word to use for the guys you have in the paint. We saw glimpses last year of some offensive capabilities, but like they're stronger than most guys in the WAC. And Aiden, Yvonne, even Gabe had some breakout games offensively. What have you seen from maybe all three of them in this offseason? I know Aiden's just getting done with some international competition, but like I feel like I've told everybody if Aiden and Yvonne can take a step up offensively this year, like you guys could be that team that maybe, I don't want to say unbeatable because I don't think anybody's getting through the WAC unscathed this year, but like you would be at the top of the WAC because of the size that those guys bring.
Ivan has been with Team France all summer, so he just got wrapped up there, and he'll be returned to campus in a couple of weeks. I think one of the biggest things he's done is he's done a great job with his body this summer. He's lost about 15 pounds and is moving significantly even better than what he did last year. Aiden came off hip surgery, and so we've been really pleased with him. He's looked like a different player this summer. Compared to what he looked like last season, for us. And so, just like you and like a lot of our fans, we're, as a coaching staff, we're really excited, to see, the improvement of those guys. And I agree with you. If those two can have great years for us, it could really help our basketball team.
Let's talk about your veteran and Gabe. I mean, that all-around influence on everybody. What have you seen this summer from him? Since that New Mexico State loss.
The biggest thing is his shooting. He's been spending a lot of time in the gym getting shots up, and I want to say he might have been like 3 for 12 in that last game. I think that really motivated him to get in the gym and really increase his shooting. And so he's done a really nice job, in our scrimmages in the summer. He's been, shooting the ball extremely well. And, last year, if you look when he had really good games, like usually our team performed, really well. And so he's been a big piece for us. And, come back this year, hopefully he'll take that next step up, kind of how Jovan took that step up last year. Hopefully we can see Gabe take that same type step this year.
And I want to ask about Chance. I mean, there were a few games you were mentioned in the post game that if it wasn't without him coming off the bench and doing what he did defensively, and maybe even offensively at certain times, you may have lost those games. What do you want to see? I believe now it's his third year here at GCU. Like, what do you want to see from him, this season?
I think mid-February last year, he played like we thought he was going to play all year. He was sensational down the stretch for us on both ends of the floor. And, he had a rough summer. He had hip surgery. He was out a long time. And so, kind of how he finished last year, we'd like to see him come back and, obviously take another step up from that. And so far, he's been really devoted this summer. He's been in Phoenix most all summer and been in the weight room, been in the gym. And so I know he's really put in a lot of work, expecting a big year.
I want to ask you about the true freshman big man you brought in from Las Cruces. I don't know that he was recruited by New Mexico State, but Isaiah Carr, are you going to redshirt him? Has it been decided what the plan is there so you can maybe get a little bit stronger? Like, I've heard some good things about him in workouts so far this summer. So just wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, Isaiah's been terrific. It's hard for any freshman when you step on a college campus, let alone when you have a lot of veterans, that you're practicing against. And so he's had some really nice moments. He has great touch around the rim. He's a 9.5 standing reach. And so it's been fun to see him get better by the day. As far as, redshirting, we think he can help us. And so if anyone can help us, obviously we're not going to redshirt him. And so, every day he's getting better. It's going to be fun to see how much he improves between now and, our first game in November.
Bryce, I guess, overall the WAC, I mean, we've kind of talked about it when we first started. Last year was really solid, 3 co-champions, obviously, and I think there were 6 or 7 teams that were at 20-plus wins. It feels like this year's another year of a bunch of parity within the conference and teams just getting better and maybe even deeper. I mean, from the offseason you guys have had and others, have you seen that? And what are your thoughts on that? Maybe you've talked to other coaches around the conference, like, this is going to be a wild season maybe, especially because it's New Mexico State's last season in the WAC. It's, Sam Houston's last season in the WAC. So there's kind of like a lot on the table for everybody.
A lot of good teams. I think you look again last year, the jump. I mean, it's kind of unheard of for a conference to jump up like 9 or 10 spots in one season. That's pretty extraordinary. Great compliment to our league for adding the teams that they did, and just all the coaches for improving their teams. And so I think collectively as a group, we'd love to jump up more spots in the conference rankings. And I definitely think with the players that came in and the coaches that we have, there's no doubt that if we all have, good years that we could jump up and pass a lot of the really good mid-major conferences we could be above at the end of the year.
This GCU men's basketball head coach, Bryce Drew. Bryce, thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're recruiting, getting into summer workouts and things like that. I appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you as the season gets closer.
Awesome, Kyle. Hey, thanks for having me on. And as always, go Lopes.